There's so much discourse right now about parenting and the lack of parenting, and parents wanting to be friends with their children, and they're creating monsters and so on and so forth. And I have my own personal thoughts on that, which I will share in another video. But for the sake of today's conversation, I want us to stop getting mad at our kids because they're showing a lack of compassion. And I want us to ask ourselves, what are we showing them? And how are we teaching them the skill of compassion? What is the skill of compassion? It is something that we train our children to have. Now, I don't believe humans are just born evil. No, I don't. David says something that was really profound that had me thinking one time, y'all. In the psalm, he said, we were born into sin and shapen into iniquity. So basically, what that means is like our nature is sinful, period. Okay. That's what it means. Our nature is sinful. And so we have to be trained to be kind, to be compassionate, to be those that love others, those that care. There's this saying that I like to say, and a few of my friends will say too, is like, I'm kind, I'm not nice. And the premise behind that is when you're nice, a lot of times you will just accept whatever because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. When the truth is, confronting what is wrong or just not agreeing is not being unnice. It's actually being kind to a person to tell them the truth. But what did I just say? Or what did David say in the Word of God? We were born in sin and shapen in iniquity. And so when you find yourself correcting your child's behavior, you're being kind to them. You're training them. You're disciplining them. But if you just let it pass as if, oh, it's okay, they'll be all right, they'll grow out of it, that's where we can have the problem. Because children don't always grow out of certain things. They grow into it more and more. And as they grow into it, it becomes their nature and it becomes a part of their character. And then as they get older, we're wondering why they're acting the way that they're acting. And that's because we never changed the behavior through discipline. About a week ago, I was laying on my left shoulder and I put too much of my body weight on my shoulder and woke up the next day and my arm was extremely heavy. My shoulder felt like it was like not displaced, but it was like the weight of the shoulder was super heavy. I had so many things planned to do, y'all, because we were getting back in the flow of things for school and so on and so forth. So the next day, it felt better, So I'm like, okay, let me, wash my hair, do the things that I need to do. I caught the worst cramp in my neck, but it wasn't a cramp, it was a spasm. And from that, it caused like tingling in my arm, all of these different things. And so I'm a single mom with my 12-year-old, and I have taught him how to do certain things, but ultimately he relies heavily on me, as he should. But there are certain things that we can teach our children so that they can learn this skill set for themselves, because we can't teach them how to be adults when they're adults. These are lessons that we're teaching them throughout their childhood, and then they continue to learn. So he knows how to make his breakfast, he knows how to do certain things, but there were just certain things that I needed him to help me with, like certain, get this, get that. Y'all know how it is as parents. So he was willing. Now, this past week, he goes, there's nothing that you need me to help you with, right? Because you're better. I had to let the spasm pass, do some breathing, all of these things, because y'all, I thought I was going to have to go to the ER, honestly. So I looked at him and I said, what did you say? And he said, I don't need to help you with anything else, right? Because you're better. Now, I knew that he didn't mean it in an insensitive way, but the way in which he said it was very insensitive. And I took that as a teaching moment to show him, hey, you have to be compassionate with your words. You can be firm and you can say what you mean, but it's the delivery that matters. Because how you're asking me, I don't need to help you anymore, as if it was a burden for you to do a couple of things that you were well within your ability to do. That was insensitive to me. And so we had a conversation and I asked him, did he understand what I was saying? To which he said yes. And I didn't feel like he needed to apologize for that, because it wasn't one of those things where it was an apology moment. I needed him to understand the lesson. You cannot coexist with people and be insensitive, because then what are people going to call you? A jerk. They're going to call you all types of things. And that's not who you are. And so, as his mother, it is important for me to confront a behavior or a trait that I see that is not going to benefit him for the rest of his life. That's a part of our job as parents. Confronting behavior, confronting traits that we see, not just saying, oh, it'll pass, but become curious about, like, okay, well, why is my child talking the way that they're talking? Who are they hanging around? What are they watching? What is the environment that I may have placed them in unknowingly that is contributing to their new personality? Because as we know, when our children go to school or when they're around other kids, sometimes they pick up on those behaviors. It becomes our responsibility to remind our children of who they are. And it is also our responsibility to shift them in the way of where we're desiring for them to go. So, compassion is a skill that we can train, we can develop in our children, because we don't want our kids to be little jerks. Okay, we don't want that. And we definitely don't want anybody else calling our kids who they're not, because we know who they are. So let's train them in that way, so that when they're older, they won't depart from it, and they will know exactly who I have been raised to be. If this conversation was beneficial for you, let me know in the comments. Like, yes, girl. Yes, sis. I needed this reminder also. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on your notifications, because this Thursday, we are going to be here for the Parents Corner. And I'm going to be giving some more detail about how to discipline our children and how to really help them in environments that are meant to shake them and try to shape them in a way that we are not pleased with.